Hello guys, and in this video we are going to learn all the basic concept of JavaScript. And if I say this video is in type of crash course for JavaScript, in which you will learn from zero to intermediate level in JavaScript. After this course I will assure you that you could write basic simple JavaScript code and also some high method things like object oriented programming in JavaScript, array method, and many other cool stuff like DOM manipulation and all of that. I am trying to cover up all the episodes and all the chapters of JavaScript in we have like array, JSON, and a constructor, DOM manipulation, DOM manipulating, what is DOM, object literals, variables, loops, conditional, and ES6 classes, and all these forms, event, arrow functions, and all the latest stuff get into ES6 JavaScript. This course is a latest JavaScript course because in this course I am going to also talk about template string and ES6 features we got with JavaScript. After this course we will focus on some basic projects of JavaScript, and we are going to make some basic projects, and after for those from those projects your skills are going to be in next level. So if you like this course, and at the end if you had some knowledge, and if you think that you just learned something from this channel, so please like and subscribe, and let's just start this course now. So now guys, I had a main HTML file and a JS file which I'm not going to use right now, but I'm going to use it in later on. And in the browser, the file I had open in VS Code is just open into my browser. So we are firstly going to talk about the first thing we are going to talk about how to put your JavaScript code to your HTML file. So there are two ways of putting any code, any JavaScript code for in your HTML file. One is called internal and the other is called external. Okay, and if you really ask me what is the most preferred way, I really think if your code of JavaScript is really long and you don't think that your code is should be in a managed way, and you don't need to just update your anything you make and any website you make, you don't need to make another file. But if you really want to manage your work and really think that the work should be look like professional, then you should use your external way. So the internal way we have is you could write a script. So let me just don't use emit and just write a script, and then inside of a script we could write the all the code we have for our JavaScript. So this is the primary way of doing or implementing the code. The another way we have is script, and then we could put source just like this, and this is the all we need to do. Now in right in here we could put script.js, the file name we have, and now we are already go with JavaScript. So now let's go to JavaScript. So now the first thing I want to talk about it what's comment are. So comments are certain type of code and certain type of character. In if we put if we put it them into a file, the interpreter or anything which just runs our code and show our result is going to be escape from that line which had the syntax, special syntax or character in that line. Okay, hope you understand. If you don't understand, don't worry, I'm going to explain it really in an easy manner. So let's say for JavaScript we have this backticks, and if I now write this is not gonna work, just save this file, there is nothing going to be happen. And let me just copy this one and just paste right in here, and now you will see it will give an error if we don't put these syntax right in here. So these are the use of comments. So now if you ask why should we use comments, so there is a normal answer that when you writing a code which has more than 50 or 60 or 100 line, then you really need to put comments into your code, so that whenever you go on with your code and just come to your code, you could understand what you write on that code. So there are two type of comment we have. The first one is single line comment, and the other one we have is, sorry guys, let me just put up the code, the thing we have for this one. I think this should be the we should be set on. This is the all we need to do. I just confuse off with these backticks, and I really don't know how to use of them with, because I really don't use multi-line comment, but you could use if you want. Nothing can be happen into your code. Okay, so these are the single line comments you could use. These are the multi-line comments. So let me just prove you to all guys. So now I could write multi-line comment, and now you could see that these are the multi-line comments, because we could write in much more than one line. Okay, so these are the first thing I really need to talk of with you guys, because we are going to use far at the end of these crash course we are going to use comment all the time. Okay, the another thing I really want to talk you guys, so the another thing we have is a basic code or syntax which will we all use in JavaScript. So if you are in a browser, if you are in a browser and you push the shortcut key Control Shift K, so it will open up a console. You could also open it with manually. Just go to your file menu and just open it up from right in there. And you could also use to go to your, just right click onto your screen of web page, and then a pop-up appeared in which you could select on the inspect element, and it will open the same page up for you, and it will open it up inspector. You could just hover over console and click into it, and it will open up for you. So now in console I really want you to all guys to just put a simple code which is console dot log, and in console dot log put a single quote or double quote, anything, single quote just, and you could write let me just write hello world, and then it's up to you if you want to put a single colon or not. Okay, so it will give you hello world. It will return whatever you write on that single code, under that single code. Okay, so what's going on right here? So you could also run your code of JavaScript right from your this console. Okay, and if I just run the same code, let me just copy for you all guys so you can understand. If I copy the same code and push it to my file, and then I save that, because I link the file, it will give the same thing to me. Okay, I could put the single semicolon, it doesn't matter at all. But if you really want to use single colon, you could use. If you not want to use that, it's up to you. Okay, so now this is the way of using. So this is the primary way of doing. So why we need console? This is a really important question. So let me just write for console. From console we could see our errors or declaration, if I'm not spelling it wrong, declaration of variables. I'm going to talk about them when we talk about them later. So variables, and also sometime from console we could see the function is firing off or not, or certain code is running or not. So what that mean is, let me just think that I make anything, I just write a bunch of code, and I really think that these line are not working. So what I can do is I can write in between them console log, what anything, success, error. And if the console log runs, that mean but the bunch of code I write there is also is running, and there is some kind of error which I'm not seeing inside of that line. So these are the use of console log. And also, as the time goes on in this video, I'm going to show you some of the basic use of console log so you could understand it practically also. So after console log, we are what I'm really want to talk with all of you guys is variables, because it's really important. Variables. So now the next topic is variable. Now variables are of one three type. One is const, which refers to a constant. Now if all you guys know, constant means the value which cannot ever change. So if you write const and you write any value, it will not going to change. Let me just show you guys. So let's say I write const name equals to code with Adi, and let's just put semicolon because it's a good practice. And now let's console log it. So check out the value of our, let's just not put name, let's put channel name. And now I could write channel name. So now I had write channel name. So now what is going to be happen is I just got the result of code with Ali. So we could assign values to our these variables. So after that we could also use let, we could also use var. So why should we use const, why should we use let, why should we use var? There's different way, different type of different things we could, different merit or demerit of this thing. So channel name, if I just write constant channel name and change with code and just save this, it will give an error redeclaration of const. So we could not redeclare const. Okay, so if you are writing const, you could not change the value directly. Okay, so if you are using, let's say var, let's say I'm using var, and then I write channel name equals to code and just put semicolon. So now it will change without seeing any error. So where the value which you assign with where is, you could change. Okay, so now if I write just channel name and let's try to change the name to code and let's save it, let's see, it will not give any error. So you could also do these things. Okay, and what the use of let? Then we could use var if we want to change the value directly. If we don't want the value should be changed, then we could use const. Why should we use let? So for use let, if you use let, you have the one power that you could write let x. In mathematics we write let x to be the value of number of laptops in the factory. For an example, right in here we could write let x, and then after this we could assign x value to 10, then we could assign x value to 10 plus 15. You could also, in JavaScript you could also do multiplication and subtraction. This is the common thing. Okay, so now you could see channel name is not defined, and the reason why is because channel name is really not defined, so it will give us an error. So now it will assign us this value. Now let's see one thing, we could also use x equals to x square 25, and let's just see what we have. So we will get the 25 into 25, which is 625. So we could use many mathematical functions, okay, with let. So these are up to you, whether these are up to you what you want to use as per your work and as per your need. You could use any of them. Okay, after variable what we have is data types. Now data type is really important, and I really like for you all guys to understand data types. So let's just go and let's talk about data types. So data types, so data types, what data types really are? So data types are uh, string, let me just write, and then string, integer, boolean, boolean value, string, integer, boolean value, null, symbol. Now symbol is really not going to use right in here because it is an advanced topic. You could write undefined, undefined instead of symbol. Okay, so these are the all data types we have, and we are going to talk about all of them. So string denotes for alphabet, integer depend for number, Boolean depend for true or false, which are literally denoted in 0 with 0 or 1. Null depend for nothing, and undefined means we don't define the value. So let's just use up all of them. So let I write const name equals to Aditya. Then I write const age equals to 16. Now see that we don't use in integer, we don't use single or double quotes. Now you could also use double quote if you want. If you really want to use double quote, you are welcome to use that one, and it will not give you an error. And the merit of using double quote and single quote is you could write double quote and then you could write anything with single quote. And if you write, so this is the all thing we have. You could also use single quote and then you will write double quote inside of that, so it's up to you. Then we have boolean. So let's talk about boolean. So const let's uh, const uh, male equals to true. You could set it like true, or you could say is true. Const, then you could write const anything, just cool equals to true, or you could write false, up to you. True. So now we have const boolean. Now you could also use let x null and let y equals to undefined. So these are the all data types we have. And now for checking the data types, we could use console dot log, and then you could write type of name. And if I now just put, so it will give you a string. Let's change name to age. It will give you number. You could see that one. So number is same as integer. If I write cool, it will give you boolean. If I write x, it will give you an object. So why it's give you an object? So it's literally very uh, problematic to you and really confusing to you to explain why it's giving object. You could understand it like it's giving you an object because all these name, age, all these are object in which we are storing some value. And in when we talk about x, we don't have any value, null, so we could not denote it anything. That means we could not denote it literally a white space, which is a or just a space bar or anything. So it will give you, it will just remains as a raw material, which is an object. When an object assign a value, assign anything, anything means anything, then it will change into the string, integer or number, boolean and undefined. But in this case it will not giving anything, so it will a raw material, which is our object. Hope you guys understand. If you don't understand, don't just try to understand. It's not an important topic, all of that. Okay, so after data types we have strings and strings method. So let me just comment out these things and then we will jump into strings and strings method. So now what we are needed to talk about is strings, or we could say string method and strings. So let's just talk about that one thing. So for talking about this string, let's just write string, and string refers to that const name Aditya. So let's just copy this one thing, write down here. Okay, and after this let's just also put const age equals to 16, the same thing I had upper. Okay, so now let's just console.log. So let's say I have something like my name is, and then I had to use this one. My name is Aditya and age is 16 years. So let's just save this, and it I really want to put something like this. And so what I could do is right in here I could put my name, and the method I'm talking about right now is called concatenation. So this method I'm using right here is called concatenation, and in this method what we do is we put my name. Let's say we have my name is, and then we are going to use a variable. So we end the single quote and then just put a plus sign and then the name of variable, which is name, then a plus sign and then another single quotes opening and closing, and then we could use my name is Aditya and age is, then we could use plus and then age plus years. So this is the old way of doing thing, just like this. Now it will give you really real pain if you just use bunch of variables right between. So for getting, and you really see that some of things just added up, just like Aditya and we don't have any white space, and this is really going to be happen because you don't know how to deal with all that stuff. So so this is the old method of doing this, but now with ES6 or with new JavaScript we have a feature which is called template string. So let me just write with ES6 we have something called template string. So what it gives us to is that we could write the same thing console again, and then we could pass backticks. Okay, so you could pass up to your tab you have backticks, or you could search on Google backticks on our keyboard and it will give you the thing. So now if you could write the same thing, my name is, so now you are going to use a variable. So you could use a syntax this, a dollar sign and then curly brackets, and right in here you could use name, my name is Aditya, and then you could use another one which is age, my name is Aditya, and just don't use right in here my name is Aditya and my age is years. So this is the way of using this template string, and it will give you the same thing, and it's really good for us to using this one, because it is really easy from this up concatenation method. Okay, so you could use this one. Okay, and let me just now just comment out all this thing we have, and now let's talk about another thing. So there are some functions we could use in our string methods, you could use say. So now let's talk about strings method. So now there are some methods. So let's say I do const or console log, and let's say I put name dot, and there is one method which we call length ngth, and this is not an this is a method, this is not a function, so it will give you 6. So if you see really the total character in our name is 6, and if I put exclamation marks it will give you a 7. So this is the first method. It will in this method you will get the total character you have in particular variable or anything. Then there is another method which is to uppercase. This is a function really, and if I save, not as what I'm doing name, and if I save now it will change all the thing I had right in here. You could see I have in small letters, it will change it capital. Also we have console.log name dot to lowercase, and these are the function and these are the method. I will talk about function and method just a moment bit later after explaining all these things. Okay, we could also use another thing, which are console.log name dot substring, and this is also a function, and in this we could start number. So let's say I start with 1 and I end with 3. So what it's going to do is it will give us di, so it will start from 1. So in what happen in programming language, that the first thing which we call 1 is 0. So the counting start with 0 in programming language. So a is 0, d is 1, I is 2, t is 3. So it will take up from 1 and ends in 3. So d1 is d, 2 is I, it will take di and then take any other thing. So this is a one method of doing this thing. So it will split the word. So you could use it for splitting words. So now the other thing we have for this one is we could split from, if you use substring we could split by word. And let's say if I use split, okay, just like this, and put a backticks and go off, then it will give me an array. I will talk about array, what is array. Okay, so don't worry about that one thing. So it will give us an array. Okay, till that point you could understand that this thing, that array is something which takes up more than one value. Okay, in one variable, it's type of an variable which assign more than one value. So const split, you could use split letter, you could split letter, and also you could split them with commas. So let's just use that one. So I'm going to use that one in right in here, just like this, and it will give commas into your array. So if you go now to your array, it will gives you only one. But in the case what I do is put comma Aditya code with Adi, my channel name, and just save this. It will give me two things, which is one is Aditya and other is code with Adi. So this is the way of doing things right in here. So okay, so these are the all things we have. Now the other thing we have is nothing. So these are the all string method which are really important and which are really used by when you be in JavaScript. Then concatenation is another thing, and template string is another thing. You need to understand concatenation because it's like a history. But you could also use concatenation if you have only one or two variables. It's not that much of bad. Okay, so this is all we had. I want to talk about with strings. In JavaScript we have arrays, so we are going to talk about them first of all. Now so now let's talk about arrays. So what array really are? In simple definition we could say array is like a variable which stores more than one value. So arrays are something which is to more than one value. So let's just make an array and take an example of it. So let's make an array of const fruits and just put it some of the basic fruits we have. So let's put them all. So making an array is really easy. First of all, you had to put a square brackets, and inside that square bracket, if you want to put a string, now you could in any array you could put multiple data types. You could put strings Remember we talk about data types: string, integer, or number, or boolean, or null, undefined. So you could put anything inside a inside one array. So you could put multiple values of different type inside one array. And after that, let's just console and log it so we could get our result. So now you could see I have an array of 4. So this is the way of getting an array, and you could see the counting starts from 0. As I say that in programming the counting starts from 0. So this is the main thing. Okay. And this is that. And now let's talk about how do we get individual values in array. So let's console log one more time, fruits. And now for getting an individual, let's say I want to get cherry, so it's situated in 1. So I could put 1 and just get the cherry ones. So let's say if I put more the number, so it will give an undefined, because it will check in fruits the 12th position, but it will not there, so it will give us undefined because there is no origin of it or no existence of it. So this is the main thing. In many programming language it's given error of indexing error, so that not means to you. Okay, so this is the way you get and individual. So visual. So after this thing, let's just also comment out this. Let's talk about some functions and method, which is really important in array. Functions and methods in array. So let's talk about all of them. So the first function I really want to talk about is, remember I say that we could not change the const value, but one thing I want to talk about right now is we could manipulate the value of const. So let's say I make a const new fruit. Okay, and then what I could do is I could write fruits dot for push. So what push do is we could push items into my this fruit. So let's say I put another fruit, which is guava, let's say, and then I put a boolean, let's say true, and then I put 23. And now if I go and console log it, so it will give the same thing. It will append those things into my this fruit array and give it us that. So now you could see we have all these things with guava, true, and 23. So this is the first method. So let me just write a comment: adding into array individually. Now guys, so now we could also do one more thing, which is manipulate it. Let's talk about firstly manipulate. So we could remove the value. So how could we remove a value? So let's talk about that. So we could make const new fruit. Let's make that one first. Const new fruit equals to fruit dot pop, and then in pop what it will do, it will remove the last element we have. So let's just comment out this one, and if I save now, you could see we don't have apple, so it will remove up the last element we have. Now we could do also manipulate it. So manipulate it, what that means is we could make a const new fruit and just set it to this empty array, let's say. And then what we could do is write const new fruit dot push, and then we could push a whole array. Let's just check out if we push fruits right in there. So what will happen, it will give an oh sorry, so const new fruits 1 equals to new fruits. Let's just check out this one. So we will get the previous one we did, so we could put fruits and then 12. Let's see what will happen. So it will give an array inside of an array, which is this array, and then it will give another thing. So we will talk about a minute later about this, what these type of array means to us. Okay, so we could manipulate our array, we could make an empty array, and at the specific time we could change the values of it. So this is a way of doing things. Now okay, so now there are much more things we could do. We could just, let's talk about another methods we have. So let's console fruits we have. So we could let's say we could to string it. So what it will do, it will stringify all the elements we have. So let's just create a new array, or just do right in here to string and just this thing like this, and then it will give us all the elements we have in the array into a string. So this is the way we could get this into a string. Now let's talk about another methods we have. So we have another method which is called slice. So what slice will do, we could give it a start number. So let's say I give it a start number of 0 and end number of 2. So let's see what will we get. So we will get banana and cherry into our console, or in my console array. So this is the all way we could get all these numbers. So let's just remove this one also and just get right in there, and now let's use one another. So we could also push. So push, I think I tell you all what push does. It append a new element. So we talk about push, pop, okay, map, and all that stuff we will talk about later on. Okay, because these are the something we don't talk, we I really not need to talk about in this tutorial, because it will make this tutorial a little problematic for you all guys, because I really want this tutorial for absolute beginner. I will make another video for array, and in which I will explain all of them in a very good manner. So for this point, I think this is all we need to understand of an array, and these are the all methods you could play with it that in that much of time. And we will see later on a tutorial on this thing. So this is the all we need to understand on array. So let's jump on the another. So now we are going to talk about object literals. So let's just talk about them first. So object literals, so they are key value pair in simple language, if I say. So what they mean is that, let's just see one of them. So let's just firstly open up my web console, and let's just make an object literal and see. So let's just make it one. So I'm going to make a constant which is going to be my user or users. So in this constant user, I am going to put curly brackets, and in that curly brackets I'm going to name first name, and just like this I'm going to name John. Okay, then a comma, then last name. Let's just make this L small, and now put this to Franklin. So John Franklin, you could put any name. Let's just change this one to Geo. Okay, then what I could do now is, let's just put another comma, and let's just put another thing which is uh tags. So let's just put tags, and in tags we could put an array. So let's just put that. So tag technology, we have one tag technology, coding, developer. So now let's just put another thing which address. So in address I could make another object, and let's just make that one. So street, I could put randomly 5 main st, I don't know what this is, 5 main street for an example. You could took anything, and country USA, just for an example. Okay, so now I made. So now let's just console log it to see what's going on and what this is. So if I do this and just console log this one out, So just wait for a while. So now we got an object. So these are the object literals in which we have all the thing we need to take off. Okay, so this is how you could grab up all the things. So now let's imagine this one. So let's say we have an app like Facebook, and we could add user first name, last name, description. Also you could make a description box like that, and just by doing these all small thing you could get the user. So now let's just access, let's see how could we access one item. So get access for particularly. So let's console log one more time, guys, and this time we will write users, and then in users we could put, now we have all the things, so let's just put first name, and if I save this we will give geo. Okay, geo, whatever it is, and then we could also write person dot, what this is, not person, users dot last name, just like this, and then we will also get, okay, just for 1 minute, guys, what's going on, let's see. So we could get this thing like this, and then we could get users dot last name, and if I now save it will give us this thing. So this is how you could grab up all the thing you needed to grab up. So let's just say this is the example of one. Let's take another example. We are going to take off our address, then my spelling of address is not correct, I think. Now it's correct. So address and then country, so user address dot country, and this is how you could grab up all the thing you want. You could also grab up user dot tags, any one tag you want to have, it will give us developer. So this is how you could grab up things and just get all of them. So these are the example of them. Now we could also destruct them. So what destruct mean is we could uh, simply extract from them. So let's just destruct one of them. So for destructing, what we could do is we could write const, then curly bracket, then right in here we could write first name comma last name. Okay, and then we could write like person and user, sorry, users, and this is all we needed to do. Now we could console log first person and last person. It will give us the same first name, and let's just see what we get. So we get the same result. So this is the way we could destruct it. It's an ES6 thing, so it's really nice to do. Many time when you fetching an API and many things you will do, you will use this one, and it's really kind of cool. Okay, okay, so after this what we could do, so we could also add properties. So let's just see how could we add properties. Let's comment out this below and adding properties. So let's see how could we add properties. So we could write person, what I'm doing, users dot email. Let's say for an example, then we could write geo @ gmail.com, and just like this, and then if I console log users, it will get up with email. So let's just see. So we got the email. Now you could see. So this is how you could grab up things and add up things more and more when the user gives you information. Okay, so this is the all I really need to talk about object literals, and it's really cool, and you could use it whenever you want. So let's just comment down below and let's jump into. So now guys, let's start off with talking of JSON file and JSON file format. So what I'm going to do is creating another object type thing, and in that object I'm going to put let's say don't use that one, let's just use the upper one thing we have, const user equals to, and then inside of this I'm going to put the name equals to, let's say first of all my name, then uh, description, uh, web developer. Now let's put in, sorry for this semicolon, we don't need to put in semicolon. Okay, then we let's put in another thing which is going to be age, and in age I'm going to put 16. Okay, that's my age. Then just double it up. So now let's change the name to something like uh what should I put in name? Okay, so let's put Will, and right in here let's put Finn. So now we have names and description and age. Let's change this one to Python developer, and let's change this one to uh, UI and slash UX designer. So let's change this one to designer, or in simple language you could say the same thing I have. So now let's save it up and see if any error comes up. So the error coming up right in here is that we are getting an error, and the error is because we don't put a comma right in the end, and if I put the comma, the error is now nothing is an error. So let's just console log it, whatever it call user. So this is an object, we all know that this is an object, but we are going to see, what we are going to see is JSON. So what JSON is a higher order array, higher order array. And the main use of JSON is when we use to fetch something from API, because all the data you will get from an API is in format of JSON. So you need to understand that one thing, that you need to understand all the methods and how could you deal with the JSON thing. Now also is an it is high order method to save data, save multiple user data, okay. So as you could see now, right now, user and anything, any object and any other thing you have. So you could console log and see we have got an array of 3, and it's given an object to us. Okay, so we get an array inside of an array. So let's just talk about now JSON. So this is not a JSON, we want it to be in JSON. So what we could do, so now if I go above, and let's write const. Let's change this to a JSON format, because JSON format is not like that. Let me just show you guys what JSON format look like. So I could put JSON dot stringify, and then what it will do, it will take in value. So we are going to put our users in it, and it will change users to in a JSON format. Okay guys, so let me just uh, uh, console log user JSON, and if I do the, this is the format, this is the real format of JSON file. Okay, so if you really guys think you could deal with it, you could deal with it. Okay, you could make the same thing, just right in here. You could change the syntax, you could do something like this and this, like this, and you could deal with this, so it will automatically become JSON. Let me just show you guys once, and then you could deal with it by your own. So now this is changing into JSON. If you do the same thing, it will automatically change from the object to JSON. So this is a way of getting a JSON file. And now this is the all you need to understand of in JSON. Okay guys, so now let's talk about loop. So we will deal with the this user in just a second. So let's get started with the loop. So what loop is? So if you really guys, you go and just learn some programming language, you are familiar with loops, and if you're a beginner, I will make it very easy for you guys. So let's just start with for loops. So for loops is very simple. Let's what we have to do is put a for, then square the round brackets, then the curly brackets, and inside the curly bracket we will perform some function, but we need to push any parameter, some parameter. The first parameter is uh, we need to declare a variable. So you could use any name you want. I'm going to use I because a lot of people use I. Then you need to put the assign the value to the 0, which is initial, and then you could say in condition. So if I say I is uh, smaller than 10, for an example, okay guys, then what I needed to do is I plus plus, and I plus plus mean increment that value. So let's just console log I and see what's going on behind these all scenes. So let's just see that. So now you could see guys, what I got is 0 to 9 counting. So the reason why 10 is not included because 10 is not greater. If I put equals and then just do the same thing, 10 is also going to be included. Okay, so this is the way you could do it with it. So let's just remind ourselves something. So let's just use this template string and just write the value of I in this iteration is, now we have to put this certain element, and then we could put right in here I, and just this thing it will do the same thing. So this is how you could get up the values. And if you really know the meaning of loop generally defines going on indefinitely. So here until and otherwise the something breaks out the loop and something crosses the loop. So here the condition is crossing the loop. If we don't put a condition like, so it will not cross it. So let's just put 10,000. So it will go on, go on, go on, and it will generally load your page and makes your page very heavy. So let's just put it into 10. 10 is also annoying. Let's put it to 4, and let's just save this one. So we will get, now let's just save this one and let's refresh. So I think my page is some kind of problem. So let's just, so now as you could see my page is not responding, and the reason behind this is really simple. The web browser cannot expand too much. We are thinking of that. Okay, if your RAM and if your system cannot afford that thing, it will not do that thing. So now as you could see it will just doing the same thing. So let's just refresh it out and we will get the result. So make sure you don't play with the numbers as much as you want. Okay, just use it in under your circumstances. Okay, okay, so this guide might be get your system a little bit what you could say hangness. Okay, so now let's talk about while loop. So in while loops you need to first define a variable. Let's do something like another thing, number. You could put anything you want because this is a variable, but generally people use I because this denote index. That's the reason why I'm also using this. So now you could put, you could also use while statement, all the things. So now you could put condition that I is smaller than greater than or equals to 2. So we need to put console.log success. So let's just do it, and we what we will got is, let's just see, I is not defined, so not I number we have. So now if I save, it will give us success with only one time, and no, two times we got success. How many times we got the success? Oh man, what's going on? Let's just put it on hold and just save. And I don't know what's going on. Let's just do it for So the reason behind going on the value like this is that I don't increment the value, so it's not meeting up the situation. So if I now increment and save this thing, and if I go to my browser and just reload it, we will get success, I think, one time only. Okay, so we got success one time only. So let's just see what's happening. So if I put 2 equals to 2. Uh,
So save that. Now we get while loop 0 to while loop 9. Okay, because we did less than 10. So that's a while loop. Pretty simple.
So while loop worked like this. Okay, so let's just comment out while loop and for loop. So you could use them both of for playing, but don't use them as indefinitely. That doesn't works good. Okay guys, so now let's jump into another topic we have. So let's just see what we have now left. So now we talk about loops. Now we have to talk about higher orders method. So we are going to talk about higher order method. So let's just see.
Addition to as long as I is less.
So now I'm going to show you guys how could you loop through this uh, const of user, or this object we have right in here. So what I'm going to do is create a for loop and just dealing with all that stuff. So in for loop, firstly I will create let user, because it makes sense right in here. So let user equals to 0, and the another thing I'm going to put it right in here is user is greater than is greater than smaller than what I'm doing is smaller than or equals to how many we have. Let's just see off. So we have 0 1 2. So greater than and equals to 2 comma uh user plus plus. So what I want is users user. Okay, so let's just save it into const present user equals to this one, and then we will jump into right in here and console log present user. So it will give us the present user we have, so it will give them all uh, in a different way. So we got one object which is Aditya, then Will, then Finn. So this is how you could grab up them differently, and this is how they work when we talk about them. You could also get only the name. So let's just a save. So I will get the name. Also I could deal with name, then I could use present user dot description. Now it will give us the description also, and also if I use present user dot age, so it will also give us the age. So we got the age of all of them. So this is how you could loop through the array. Okay, so now let's just see. Now let's just think that we don't know how much people we have. We are appending or adding more and more user as user comes to us. So what we could do is we could put users dot length. So this property gives us the length. So now let's see, we have this, and let's say we double it up. So let's just double it up, and we have now more than that. So what's going on, something is missing. So right here we don't put a comma, so now it will go up the same. So let's just save this thing, and line number 89. Oh, this thing. So now let's save it up. So we will got all of them. So this is how you could get up with all the stuff you need. So now, so after this we will deal with let's just see what we need to deal with. Now we could deal with higher order array method, but I'm not want you to all guys to just confused by them, so I'm not going to tell about all of them and all of that thing in this tutorial, but we will make another video for that thing, so don't worry about that thing. Okay, and let's just see what's that thing is above. So we need to delete that thing, so now it's all good. So now let's jump into another topic we have, which is conditional. So conditional is very important in programming. If you had any programming background, you must know what conditional generally are and how could we use conditional. So let's just talk about them. So there's always a condition we have. If outside the rain is going to be happen, I'm not going to go out, and if else I will go out. So just like that, take an example for it. So what we could do, we would put if, let's just make what we could do, let's just make a variable, let my status i- equals to true. So if I'm online, let's say I'm making an app like WhatsApp, and I'm using let my status true. So what I could do is I could make a function in which I could write my, if my status that I'm true, then what I needed to do is I need to console.log Aditya is online. And you could also do many things, but just for the sake of time, you could also use if else, and in any other case we could do console.log Aditya is now. Why the reason I'm putting it right in here, because in the condition we are talking about for online, so it might get, if I say false, it will give Aditya's offline, I think. So Aditya is offline. You could also use if in this one also. If you wanted to put not, so in JavaScript we have this, and then we could put my status. So if my status is not true, it will give us offline. So this is the programming language we need to learn, that this is meaning, this means not, this is exclamation mark means not. Okay, so this is how you could grab up with all these things. So we should put true. So now after this, this is not making so realistic. So now you could put also alert. So what alerts are generally, it's like a prompt or small window which comes into a browser, and you could put the same message I had above right in here, and just put it right up here. And if you now save, so it will come an error, a small window which says Aditya is online, and you could put okay. And for making it more real, what you could do is you could make a const user name and equals to it. What you could do is you could use prompt, and what prompt do is you could put anything into prompt, and user will return that thing. So let's just put please type your name. So if I put please type your name, and let's just go out, and if I say uh, anything like that, so let's just get rid of this and alert, and use a template string, and then we will put user name is online. So whatever the username, it will give us that thing. So now I could this will applicable for all the users, all the name and all that stuff. So this is how you could grab up with all that thing. So let's just console.log, and now if I console log, and let's just I say uh not console log, what I'm doing, I should put alert, which need the template string, and says user name is offline. So it will work the same. Let's just see and check it out. So if I save, it will please type your name, and if I type let's say Adi, and save that up, so Adi is online. Prevent this, this is an default thing. You don't do anything with that. So now let's just put it false. Please type your name. Let's just put dark phonics, anything you want. Dark phonics is offline, so it's giving anything. You could also manipulate the my status with any function you could make, and anything like that. Okay, so this is how you could grab up with with the things, and this is all we need to do. Now let's change up with this, and let's put username equal to blank, or let's just put Aditya. So this will give Aditya is offline, or it will give whatever we have. So if I put Adi, so no matter what is going on, it will put Adi is offline. And if I just put the same thing I put right in here, okay, the same thing, and I just save it will give Aditya's online. So this is how you could grab up with all that stuff. Okay, and the triple equal sign means that equal to this string. So if username equals to this string, it will give us that thing. And for saying or, you could put like this, and you could put my status equals to my status, just my status. And now if I put Aditya, that doesn't that matters. Okay, so because it's like or. Okay, so this is how you could grab up with all that stuff. And or, what this generally mean that check out this condition and check out this condition. If any of them will be true, show this result. And not any of them, both of them are false, then show this result right down below. You could also put else. Okay, so this is how you could work with conditional statement. You could put if that does, if you are putting one more thing, if you are putting if that doesn't give you an error, and if let's say I don't put any if, I only put an else, so it will not work, because without if else will not work. So better you understand that thing. Okay, so let me just okay up it and just both comment out. So one more thing from these, prompt generally gives you a window where you could put an input, and alert gives you only an alert where you have only one right to do anything. You should only have to put okay. So these are the all things I really want to tell you all guys about conditional. And conditional are really game changing in programming language, let me just say this thing. Okay guys, so now let's jump into another topic we have. So now the another topic we have is functions, and function really are very important, and you will like it. So let's say I wanted, whenever someone comes to my website, I want a console that welcome user whatever the name user have, and just like that. So how could I deal with that? So let's just uncomment const username. Okay, and in function I will make a function. So let's just type function, and then the whatever function name you want. So let's just I say I will type welcome user. So what it will take user name. And now let's just change this one to user. Okay, only user, or change it to name, because it makes sense if I put name right in here. And if I write console.log, let's use temple strings, user or name, let's just put name, welcome to my website, and I think my welcome spelling is correct, not correct. So let's just change that up. So now if I save, and it will give me a input. So let's just put Aditya. So it will not giving anything because I don't call the function. So remember that thing, if you making a function, you need to call for it will not automatically firing off. In certain cases, if you want to automatically fire off, there are some functionalities you could do, but not at this time. We will talk about that later. So let's just put welcome user, and now you need to put a name. So let's just put Adi, anything. Let's just put code with Adi, and let's just put another. You could put numerous functions, same function anytime you want. So this is the speciality of function. You could do one function or one specific method more than one time. So this is how you could grab up with all the stuff. So now let's just put this one Aditya, and now let's just save it up. So let's just put in Aditya and code with Adi. Welcome to my website. Aditya, welcome to my website. They both will work the same because we determine a function, we determine a way where they both will be to go. So this is how you could grab up with that stuff. So let's just put Aditya, and now let's just comment out this one and only use welcome user to username. Okay, so whatever the username we have, it will go up with that. So let's just I put not this name, not anymore, code with Adi, and just save it. It will give us the same thing. So in function we gave them a way to work, and they will work the same for many of the time whenever and ever we call the function in that similar file. So this is the way of calling a function. Okay, in function you could do numerous things like if else conditional statement, for loop, else loop, and any other thing you want. Okay, also you could use, let's just me comment out this one also because we don't need that much now. So now let's just okay up. So it will give only white space, a white space, and a blank thing. So let's just make it more good for your own revision. If name equals to empty, so what we will do is we will console.log unsuccessful greeting. So this is the one thing. And if name, now there is not any other thing we have, else console.log the same thing we have. So dollar sign name welcome here, just put a small message. So let's just save it, and if I put okay, it will go unsuccessful greeting, because this is the power of programming language. That's the reason why I said at the starting, this is a logical programming language, and you need to concentrate on all the topics so that to get that point and realize the wealthiness and the real power you have with this programming language. And now you could imagine, once you get with the manipulation of your main HTML file, there is no limitation what you could do. In your main HTML file you could make an input, and whenever someone puts that thing and hit OK, you will change the whole page, and wherever there was login, just like login, and then will welcome Aditya if you have an account, and if you don't have account it will show you some functions. So all that things will you could do now. So let me just comment out this one, comment out this one, just okay up. Okay, so we don't have anything now opened up. So now let's go down below right in here, where we make functions. So this is how you could make up a function and work with it. Okay, and let me just tell you one more thing. So here there is no exception that it's optional to put in parameter. Without parameter the function will work the same, but you have to give the name. But for more functionality I just put in parameter, and if I just do this thing and if I don't put in parameter, it will give me an error that undefined welcome here. And the reason behind this, that this function is not firing off. Let's see, just put it up, and don't call the name right in here. Okay, and put a username, so it will give us an error, username is not defined and anything like that. Okay, so better you understand these all circumstances, that there is no need to put an parameter. There is optional, up to you, that you want to put parameter you are always welcome. If you don't want, you are better on yourself. So But in functions, one thing is really important, to call for it. If you're not calling for it, it will not fire off. Okay, so now after this we have another. In ES6 we got an arrow function, and what's arrow function really are, so let's talk about that thing. Okay, so now let's talk about them. So let me just write arrow function, and this comes with the ES6 new features with JavaScript. So let's just make of that. So for using it, let's just talk about the basics. So you have to create a const, a variable, and then the function name, whatever the function name, let's just put add numbers and equals. Then you could put, if you want to put in parameter, you could put equals num1 comma num2. And what it will do, now you have to make an arrow. And how you could make an arrow, so there is really important how you will make an arrow. So you will do like this and then this, and then this we got. Now in functions you could also return something. So in return it will return something to you, and then you could console it, you could use it in your own way. So let's just return num1 plus num2. Okay, and let's just console log once, so we could see console log 10 10. So let's just see what, not console log 10 10, console log add numbers, because we return the value. So add numbers, then num1, in num1 I will put 10 and 10, and let's just save. So I will got 20. And if I change the operator to, let's say, multiply, it will give us 100. If I put, so if I put minus, it will give us 0. If I put anything, if I put plus, it will give us the same thing result we have. So this is the way you could use an arrow functions, and it's really very easy. You need to make a const, add numbers, and with arrow functions something are really cleaned up, and we will talk about that later when we jump into that part. Arrow functions really make your life very easy and handy if you really use them and you know how to use them. I will talk about that thing. Okay, but for that, for this point of moment, you remember that this format of making things. So if you need to put in a parameter, you will always welcome. If you don't, you are good at yourself. So this is the way of making things up. So let's just comment out below, and let's just, so now guys, we needed to start off. As you could see, we just learned much more. I could think, I don't know how could I say that, but I don't accept that I will do this much of long tutorial. But now we are learned the basics of programming in JavaScript. So let's jump into some higher level of programming and let's do some real stuff. So now we will jump into higher JavaScript, and it's really important for you. And in this we will jump into object oriented programming. Now most of you know what object oriented programming means. Okay, if you don't know, so if you don't have any programming background, so this might get the thingy for you, that what object oriented programming. But we will talk about that. Firstly, what I want to you is tell about something about constructors, because our first goal in this is to learn constructor. So constructor is a type of thing which construct the object. So just understand what I'm saying. From object I mean, we created the user. You could I said this user, we just like this user or this object literal, just we created this. We could create now with constructor, and much more thing we could create with constructor. So for, if we talk about constructor, it helps us to create the object we created above. And there are two ways of creating it. One is prototype and ES6. Okay, so let's just deal with that, all that stuff. So now let's start off. So first of all, what we needed to do is create a construct function. So let's just constructor function. So how could we create a constructor function? Does it have some other syntax or other thing? No. What we needed to do, as every simple function, we need to create a function, write a function. Now the major part of this function is you need to put a capital thing, anything. If you want to put user, you need to put capital U and then user. If you put to like person, you could put like this. If you put company, just like this. You could not put small c, small p, small u. Okay, so let's just put my thing is users. Okay, and in user my first thing is going to be first name, then the last name, and then after these all we need to dob, date of birth. Okay guys, so now let's jump into our function. Now after this all thing, what we needed to do in function is we needed to create or set some properties. Okay, so for setting some property we use this dot, then we could use first name equals to first name, and this dot last name equals to, and if you confusing, so wait for a while, I will make it easy for you. Okay, so don't worry that you are not understanding what's going on. It's really easy. Okay, so dob now. So what I did, I created all type of constructor for all of them. I set properties. These are the way you could set properties. Okay, let me just put in comment so you this thing become easy for you. Setting property. Now after this what we needed to do is just close this function, so that's it. And now let's go down below and let's create another variable const user1 and equals to, we could do new. You remember when I talk about array I'd say new and then array. So this is the this is also a constructor like thing, like of thing. So now we could do new user. Now let's do this to user only, and now let's now user only. And then what we needed to do is we put, firstly we need to put in first name, so let's just put first name, let's just put my name, let's say, and Aditya Penuli. Then dob, let's put the real dob of mine. So this is my name. Let's just console log it, so we could see the result we got from this and understand what's going on and what's this really are. So if you console log, you could see it will give us an object, the same object we are getting from this above, which I tell you users, same thing we are getting off with. Okay guys, then you, and one thing which is majorly really important, as this is a function you could call it numerous times, so not let's just create three of them, and user1, user2, user3, and let's change this to Joe, David. Let's change this to 1 4 1987. Let's change the date to something like this, any random stuff you could choose of it. Franklin Mary. So let's just save out with this, and now let's console out all of them so we could see all of them particularly each other. So user2, user3. Now let's just save off, and we could see we got three objects, and all of them are separated by others. So this is how we could create an objects in this constructor thing. Okay guys, and creating these const user and doing this thing is called instantiate object. Okay, instantiating the object. So let's just put another comment, instantiate object. So we could also instantiate objects, so just like this. Okay, and this is the way of getting all these things. So let's just clear this all. This is only for representation both of user2 and user3. We only need user1. Okay, now let's talk about how could we get particularly something. So let's just think I really need to take off first name, and if I console, so I could get the first name. So it's really easy. So now let's just think about date. Would make a method which is generally a function into this. So what we could do is we could write this dot get full name just like this, and now by writing this and then just make it a write function like this and then this. Now here we could return or do something, some function, some concepts and logic. Let this return, what we want to return is this dot full name, first name, sorry, and then space, then another this special characters for using our variables, this dot last name, last name. Now if I go to user and just do get full name, just like this, and if I just save this file, we got the full name. So this is how we could create a method into this constructor, which is generally a function. So as you could see, creating a method, we could call it method. Okay guys, so now if you go and just console log user1, let's just console it. So now you could see we got dob first name get full name, just like this. And when you're making something like this, you don't want a method to comes up into this like this, and I really don't like that also. So here you could see we have some thing called prototype, in which we have constructors and also a prototype one more time. So now let's talk about how to just get rid of this to come up into our main array, so our main object. So let's just get rid of this. So now after this function, what I could do is I could write person dot, sorry, user dot prototype dot get full name, just like this. And now you could do the same thing right in here, just create a function, and then you could return the same thing, and it will work the same, by the way. So let's just return that thing. If I save that thing, and if now you could see our array, there is not right in here, but in prototype we have both of them. So this is the way of doing things, and it's look really good, and it will work the same, by the way. Just let's just do this thing. Just user dot get full name, just like this, and if I do, it will work the same. So it doesn't mean that it will change the work, but it makes your work neat and clean. So you could use that one also. It's called adding it to prototype. Okay, as you could see now. Okay, proto, sorry, type. Okay, now after all these things, let's take a look into classes and what classes really are. So classes is something. Let's take a small example for understanding classes. So let's think of the engineers when they're building a complex project or a complex building. What they do, they build a blueprint of that project and build the whole project just from that small blueprint or small project. So here also we could build, when we talking about big project and management in our projects in our code, so we could build small classes, and by simplifying those classes we could do different functions which we need more than one time. So this is an example of classes. So let's just see how classes work. So I will make the same thing which we make with constructor function, and we will see how could we deal with that. So first thing, you need to put class, then the name. So I will put user, and then something like this, I think. Yes, now we need to amplify constructor, and then it we could write first name, last name, let's just put dob, just like this. Now let's take up these all properties. So these will remain the same. Let's just grab these up, and we will put all of them like this and just save this. So lead decoration, so let's just comment out this one all, just comment out this, comment out this also, so it will work the same. Now one thing is that this dob, so let's just change it to big dob. Now it's good. So after that, what we need is we need to get this prototypes right in here. So we, how could we get the prototype? So let's just see that. So we could do like get full name, sorry, name, like this and just like this, and then return this thing which we have, just like this, and save this up. Now this right here will be work the same like this. Above we have this constructor function, they both work the same, but it's up to you how you want to work with all of them. So it's up to you how you want to work with, if you want to work with user, or if you want to work with classes, or if you want to work with constructor. So this is all we needed to understand from classes and constructor. If you want a single tutorial on object oriented programming where I explain the or more briefly what object oriented programming is, what constructor is, what classes is, so I will do that for you all guys. So now let's just see what we have next. So now guys, I'm going to comment down this above thing class, and we talk about that thing. And now we will jump into something interesting. Till this point we do many things which is really interesting and makes you feel that they are the one thing you needed all for all the time. But now I'm going to show you how you could make your web page interactive through your HTML to your JS. And what this is called is called DOM. And most of you clearly listens this thing, and the reason behind your listening of this DOM in JavaScript is because it occupies a really good space in JavaScript. And how it occupies a really good space is the reason behind that thing is only when we talk about DOM. So let's just give it a let's just I tell you the full form of it. So the full form is document object model. So what DOM really is, let's talk in very short, so that you could in a simple and short manner, so that you could understand what I'm saying. So DOMs mean that you could interact with JavaScript, you could interact with this h1 line, you could interact with anything. So let's just delete this h1 line, and now if I save, the file should be look like this. So now let's create an input of text, and let's just don't give it anything, let's give it an id of name input. Let's don't give it a name input, I want to show you some power of it. So let's don't give it a name input, we are going to give it a button with an id of submit. You could name anything in id, okay, that doesn't mean anything, okay. And it will say click me. I'm not going to add any styling right now, but if you want you could add styling into your web page. Now let's just increase the size so most of you can see now if your streaming screen is small. So now what we could do is we could generally, when we talk about document object model, so there are two things in our perspective mainly. How could we get this button, okay, and how could we add something to it? So document object model just mean that thing, okay. So let's just talk about how could we deal with that stuff. So let for first of all, first thing I really want to show you guys, I'm not going to tell you all the thing, I'm also going to show you that so that you have a proof of what I'm saying. So let's just console log, and one more time I'm saying that this thing console log is very interesting and very good. Once you understand the power of console log, you could do anything you want in your thing. So let's just console log, I want to console log my, let's say, window. So let's just console log our window. So don't 2 minutes. So now window, so window is generally the whole page. If you see window of type of global is, so it's in JavaScript name window. And if I now see, I got something like this, and it's give me default. And let's just see what we have. So now we have bunch of properties. Let's, if I could zoom right now here, so now you could see we have many functions, many functions. So this is the property of console log, you could see all the functions. If you have any problem, you could come here and you could see the properties and all these things. One property I wanted to show you guys, now you could see this DOM thing you are seeing. So this is the main thing we are dealing with now. And what I wanted to show you guys all is HTML all collection. You could see HTML, and what it prototype means the functions, like we create a constructor, the same thing right happening here. So these are the same thing which we created, okay. So we could see many things right around here, and you could I will suggest you just go there and just see all that stuff you have. Now the thing I wanted to see, I am thinking that I will where is it, should be here. If f is following right in here, I'm searching for fetch. Okay, so let's just control F if I could do. Oh, here is this fetch event. We're getting nothing. Okay, so let's just get window. So we could you could see now there's much more functions you could do. You could do scroll, screen access, screen top, very important, screen x, screen top, and page offset y, page offset x. Okay, very important thing. Okay guys, please see that all that stuff is really important. On submit is also in function. So these are the all functions we have in our on mouse over, on mouse enter, on mouse leave, on mouse out, and these are the all events we are going to study now. So on device light, they are really, on click, on close, on blur, they're really important guys. So please just go and just check them out. Local storage, it's also very important I think. And you should know one thing about local, inner width, inner height, you should also know about both of them. Okay, then the other thing, here is the fetch. So here is the fetch I am talking about. So this is the fetch, and we could deal with that thing, and we will deal with it most of the project, most of the time we will dealing with fetch. I will talk about that thing now. Now we could also grab fetch if I want, just like this, and it will only give me the promise state rejected. So don't worry about that thing for this time, because we are not dealing with promises and all that stuff. So now here we got the function of fetch. Now this is the thing, this is the main thing. You could get anything. Now let's just search document. So you could also get the document. So let's just search of document, and they got the HTML document. So HTML document means the whole page we have: body, children nodes, domain, and all the thing we have. Doc type, now you could see we have the doc type, we have full screen, last element, child, all these type of thing we have now. Okay, so now, okay, if I do the document dot body, let's just save and see what we get. So we got all the attributes and all the things. So now here's the inner HTML, as you can see. Don't worry about this script source JS. Here is the point we got code injected by live server. So it is the code of in live server, don't worry about that thing. Okay, so this is the main thing I wanted to show you guys. So whatever we are dealing with document or body, because these are the all pages we have. Okay, document or body, these are the two main thing we have to deal without. So when I am talking about document object model, so first thing I really need is to grab up the ID from right here. This click me I needed to grab up. So we will see that how could we grab up click me. So now let's deal with all the things. So now let's grab up, let's take out this click me or button we have. So there are numerous way of doing this thing. Okay, so I'm going to talk about all of that way, because you need to understand all of that ways one by one. So let's just create our console and make this console screen a little bit smaller. Now let's go and grab up. So you first thing you need to write document, because all the thing we have is on our document. Now there is numerous way of doing this. I say, so first way and the most common and old type of way is we will give an ID to that button, and most people prefer this method. You will give an ID to that button, and then you could go document dot get element by id, and then just go there, and you could give the element id. So the element id I have is submit. Make sure all this thing is correct. Incorrect way of writing, all the capital letters should be capital, all the small letters should be small. The submit spelling should be matched by this submit spelling. That's the reason why we should give a logical name, so that we could understand. Now let's let's save this into a variable. So const button equals to, now let's, it's saved in something. Now let's console log it so we could see what's going on behind the scene. This is the real power of console log, what I say. So now I got this button with an id of submit and all the access to my this button, all the functions I could do with this button. So now we could deal with it, deal with it. So this is the first way of getting this thing. Now we could also get up this thing by, now let's create a const, one more const button, same, and let's just do document. First of all, document is common. Then there is other thing we could call query selector. Now what's the difference between query selector and this? Now in query selector we got all the access to all the elements of html. We could put button, so it will grab up the button. So this is the way of getting button in html. So it could, in query selector you could also grab up the button and it will result the same. Let's just console log it and we could see that the result will not be changing so much of. So now you could see it will giving up the same thing, so both of them are same. So this is the way of getting from html element. So html, so this is the way of getting from html element. Let me just write html element. So now this is the html element. Now how could we grab up if we have an id of class? Now you could also grab class, you could also grab h1, you could also grab all the html element, and you could also grab here class, or you could also grab id, but you need to put dot for class, hashtag for id. So this is the exception right in here. Now it's not an exception, this is the reality, we could say. Now let's just make a just comment out this one also, and let's just talk about another. Now let's think of that we have more than one button and we want all of them to work the same. So let's just double them up, save up. So we have more, many buttons. So now we could do, now we want to deal with both, all of them. So now you could do one thing, you could multiple element. So now we, let's say we have multiple elements, so we could do const for logic we need to put buttons because it's plural. Now we could put document dot query selector all, so it will select all the element which are in the case button, or let's just deal with this time submit and id. Okay, so all the button which have submit id will be come up right now. So now we got a node list, so it's a type of array inside an not an inside of array, it's type of array node list is. So now let's say we need to iterate by all of them. So what we could do, so we will talk about that one thing of iteration. Okay, so these are the way you could grab multiple element from right down there. Okay, now let's deal with how could we fire off an event. So fire off an event. So how could we fire off events? So let me just uncomment the first one and comment out the second one, and then just go and just change the name to button this, and let's just change this also because the spelling of button right in here is not correct. So now it's correct. So now firing off an event is very easy. What you could do is, now we created a html element or variable. We could do button, and there is a property of add. So for firing off an event, now you could see we have grab up the button into document.getElement by id. You could also use document.getElement by id and then dot anything, what I'm telling you now. So we want some event firing off when we click on the button or do some come on the button, hover on the button, and things like that. So how could we deal with that? So there is something button dot add event listener. So it would add an event listener. Now there's much more event listener you could think. So the main is, now you could see all of them. We are going to use first of all click, and then there's two way. In ES6 we got the arrow function, or and the using of that is we could put like this, and this. Boom, now we could do all the thing we needed to do for it. Now I will show you how to deal with the add separate function and all that stuff. Now let's console log success, because we are succeed in what we want to do. And if I click the button, I got the success message. But one thing you are seeing that if I clicking the first button, it only gives me success then. So if I click the next button, it will not. So this is the reason why we need to use query selector all. Okay. Okay, so this is the one way of doing thing. Now the other way is we could put a function. So let's use on submit, or on submit. Let's create the function first, submit, and this is the way of creating function. I already explained this one, and let's just simply console log the same message we have. So here we got the message. Let's just click on that and we grab that. Now there is much more thing you could deal with. One is double click. So if you double click it, then you will grab. So let's just refresh and click once. So it's not getting the message ups. Then there endless. You could do much more than you could think. One is mouse over, mouse down, mouse enter. Let's just deal with mouse enter. And when the mouse enter, I got the success message. Okay. And one is mouse leave, I think. Let's just deal with that. Mouse leave, mouse out, mouse, you will use all of them one by one, and then you will see that. So now I will go into that, and I got the message. Okay, one is mouse leave. Let's deal with mouse leave. I think my spelling should be correct. I will go and leave, and I got the message. So these are the all way of getting all these things. So first of all, we talk about that. Now let's talk about query selector and just comment out this to seeing that there is some effect when we use query selector or not. So we have click event. If I click on it, it's not giving the thing. So let's just see what's going on. So the thing is my button spelling is not correct, I think. Now we grabbed up the message. Okay, we grab up the message. That's okay. So there is no difference between query selector and get element by id. It's up to you what you want to use. If you want to use the traditional one, you could use, and if you want to use the latest one, you could use always. Now when we talking about query selector all, let me just uncomment this one and change this to buttons, and change this also to buttons, and save these things. So now if I click on them, you will see nothing is happening out below. So how could we deal with that one thing which is not happening? So if here you could see we getting a list or array. So we need to deal with that. So whenever we use button query selector all, so we will do buttons dot. Now you could use for loop also, but I am using for each because I don't explain this one. For each really good, for each is really good. Now what I'm going to do is put button, I think, and then button dot add event listener, the same event of click and on slash submit, just like this and just this. Now if I go and click 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 click, it's changing the number here. If you don't see, let's just refresh. So there is no matter how much button we have, and that's the reason why I use for each. You could use for each, so it make your work very easy. Now let's double up the buttons. We got more button in our competitions. So now it's up to you, click anyone, it will give us the thing. So this is really cool if you use the data. Now let's talk about some prompts or small windows we have. So if I click the button, I want to alert something. So let's just use of comments first of all, because comments are really important, because most of the people wants comment when they are studying. So comment you clicked. Okay, I click, I get the alert prompt. Now there is another, let's just deal with that one also. Let's just, I copy this one thing because I'm going to use them one by one. Now this is alert, let's just comment down below it, and let's just use prompt. I show you guys, I think. Let's just see it one more time. Prompt, and then in prompt you have to give a message. So I will give the same message I have, and if I save, if I click, I will get a prompt in which you have an input field. Now there is another, we have confirm give you yes or no. So let's just use confirm. Confirm also take message, do you click. So if I go and if I say do you click, you need to okay or cancel. There is no input, so is it true or false. You could make a if else condition if you want to play with it. You could do if else on all these things. Let me just grab up from here and put it above about arrow functions, and small default window. So these are the all things we have. Okay, let's say we have a function, and if I save this and if I click, nothing is going to happen, and this function is really not correct. So for correcting a function, you could do some of the things. You could write return null, so it will returning null to us, so nothing will be happen. But it's a way, if you want nothing into the function and you are just want to find a small function which had nothing to do with that, you should do this. And if you create a function but you are not adding some code right down below because you are busy with other stuff, so please return null. Sometime it give you a really hard headache. I experienced that one. So it's up to you. I will give a console.log. Shit. Now you could add much classes you want. Let's make a input field also with an id of name. Save that thing up, and let's create another const name input equals to document dot. Let's use query selector because I think query selector is non query selector only, and in query selector I will use input. Now you could also do with input then dot name input, just like we do in our css. Okay, and this time we will use we use arrow function in for each. We will use this time normal function we use all the time. So name input dot add event listener focus, so it will but when it have the focus, so I don't know. Let's just let's just put click, or let's just put the submit button. Okay, we have const name input. I want to do some realistic work, don't do stupidity. Let's just delete this console log because it not mean so much. Now we will go to the function and check some things. If name input, so one thing, let's say I want Okay, now one thing, let's say I want to grab up the value I write right here. So if I put Aditya and I want to grab this Aditya value, so how could I grab that? One thing, so if I console log name input, so as you all know, it will give us the HTML field. Now how could we deal with that thing? How could we grab up the value? So there is something called value. Let's just save now, and if I click now, so it's giving undefined. So now it will give my name, and if I just change this one, then I click, it will give the thing. So now I can grab up the thing. So this is the value. I just confused with some of the thing. So I could do one thing, name dot value, and if it's equal to empty string means nothing, then we will alert name is required. So name is required, else alert, puts alert only, successful. Now we do this thing. Now let's go and put a placeholder to make it more realistic. So now if I go put nothing into right here, and if I click, I will get name is required, and if I do something like my name and then click, it will say successful. So these are the some of small thing which we could do to get some stuff. Okay, so better you make sure you, and one more thing, don't put a white space or space right down here for making it looks good. So what now happen, let's say there is nothing, it will give us, okay, it will give us the same thing, but don't do that thing because it will count as a white space, and a white space should be required there. Okay, so these are the all small thing we need to worry about when we are talking about this. Okay, so we talk about firing of an event function. So this is how you can make your web page looks really good and interactive. Now let's jump into next topic. Now, there is only one topic we had left, and that was very important if you are starting with JavaScript. So, till this point, we had covered all the basic things and some higher stuff like object oriented programming, also some conditional statements, some functions, constructor, and all these things. Now, one thing I really want to do by after this DOM. How to select DOM and document what is document object model, and how to select and fire off events, and just these things. So till now I had in DOM, I had explained you how to you could uh, check or create, just select one element, and if it is single or multiple in both of the side, and also how could you fire off an event of that. Now the question arises that uh whenever you go into your HTML, that one thing you also seen that I removed my HTML h1 tag, and this is necessary for me. So now what I'm going to do and what I'm wanting to tell you all guys is, uh, all the time, we in HTML we put some markup, we put element like div, and inside the div we put an h1 tag, and inside of h1 tag we should put some text. But now I wanted to show you guys how you could dynamically, means from JavaScript you could put the text inside your main HTML file. So it's really kind of cool. So let's start. HTML element DOM manipulation. So let's just get started with. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create an element. So for this time I wanted to go to my inspector, so see what's going on and how HTML is looking. So let me just customize this. Okay, so now you are seeing we have nothing in the body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create const div div el, and inside of this div el I am going to write document. For all the time in document object model we need to write document dot, then there is something called create element, and inside this create element if you go, then you will see that we have numerous all the HTML tags. So we could, I wanted to create a div. After this, if I save, nothing should be done. Okay, and the reason behind this going on, if I console log this, let's just console log, so you will see that div el is correct. There is no problem with div el. So let's just go and see our console log. So div el, so now let's just console log it, so you will see we have a div. Okay, okay, so it's good now. So what's happening, what's the main reason it's not in the body? So when you create an element you need to attach it to the body, because JavaScript knows that you create an element, it doesn't knows that you want to attach that particular element into your HTML or not. So you need to do that thing. So how you could do that thing? So let's just clear this up. Now you could do document dot body dot append child, and inside of this we could write div el. So now if I save up, so hopefully it will come into our div. Now you can see that now we created a div, it's good. But can we add a class or id to the div by dynamically or say JavaScript? So let's just see with adding class to the div. So now how could we add a class to div? So there is something called div el. So let's just console log first of all, so that you could also understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing that thing, and that's the reason of this. So if I do class list right now, and if I go, so it will give me something like an DOM token list. So these are just like an array and we have nothing in the value. So what we could do is sorry, and there is also a function. Let's just see that what's the function do add. So if I do now, so it will give me undefined because it doesn't add anything. So now, but 90% of you all understand what we need to do. We need to do div el class list dot add. So this is the first method of doing this thing. Now there is another method I want to talk about. You could do container. Let's just add container only this for this moment, and if I save now, if I go to my inspector, it should be a class of container. So now we have a class of container in the div. So now it's really cool. We add a class, we made a div, we append it to the body. So what this line mean is document.body.append child. This line means that you should append it, or append means getting it to yourself, accepting it. So HTML is accepting, HTML body tag is accepting all the element we are creating and adding and manipulating to itself. So this is the simplest way of doing this thing. So adding into HTML. Now why I'm adding into bodies, let's just console log once console log body also document.body. So we could also understand that what is body. Now if anything I messed up and you think you are not understanding that thing, anything, so you could console log it, it will give you all the thing you need. So body is all, now you could see we have all the thing in body, child, element count, and all these stuff. So this is the main body, and if you hover over it, so you will see it's all HTML. So we need to append the things into document.body. It's the main root element, okay, as we studied in HTML. So now we edit a class. Now this is the first method of editing. So let's just go and see the another method. So div dot class, now class name, and then in class name dot add, no, class name equals to, you could put any class name. So let's just put container this time also, and let's just save that thing, and hopefully it should give us the same result. So this is the way of doing this thing. uh the same, it will give you the both result give you the same. It's up to you what you want to use. Now we added the class of container. Now the second thing arises, do we have some freedom to put the content into that boxes or into that container? So yes, we have. So what we have is, now we have two things, or let's just see one by one then them. So if I do div el, so let's just console log it, because it's the only way I think most of you will understand inner HTML. So let's just inner HTML. So if I go to my now console, it will give me an empty string because there is nothing in inner HTML. So this is the way of seeing things. Now there is two ways. First is inner HTML. So let's just deal with inner HTML first of all. So div el dot inner html equals to, now you could put text, but now there is an importance. You could put p like this, then this and this, and then here you could put lorem ipsum, but make sure, because there is no emit or anything, so you need to you need to do anything, all the things in good manner. So now you could see lorem ipsum is coming up. So whatever you write inside of here, it will comes up right down below. But now you are seeing, whenever you go out of the line, it will give you an error. So how could we deal with that error? So there is very simple thing we could do: template string. And now in template string, there is no matter you where you are, it will deal the same. So let's just put an h1, hello, I am JavaScript text, h1 end. Then we could do something like ul, and inside of this ul we could do, because we don't have emit, and this is the reason why most of us get a problem with writing all these. So html5, let's say css3 js js es6. So now let's just save, and we got all these things. Okay, so this is cool. Okay, we understand how to put inner html. Now when we are using inner html, so we could also use, like, just say we have a const or any variable, const name equals to, let's just say we have any name, so let's just prompt it. So we could get a name from, please enter your name. So now if I go and just save this thing, so it will give me an this thing. I will put Aditya, so nothing will be happen. So now what we could do is, hello, I'm JavaScript text, I am made by, and then the dollar sign and the curly braces we use, and inside of this we could write names, because we created that thing. So now if I put a name, let's say I put Aditya, so it will give me an Aditya. And if, let's say, I put code with Adi, so it will give me code with ID. So these are the ways, these are the power of these things. So let me just comment out, not comment out, let me just delete all the stuff we have, and let's just put code with Adi for this point of time. So this is the way you could put inner HTML inside of it. Now let's say we have inner HTML in div el. Now we have another element in div el. So how could we deal with that? So very easy. Now you need to create another element. So creating another element, let's create an link. Okay, so const channel link equals to, so we could do not like this. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to create const section, and inside of this, document dot create element. Now inside of this I will create a section I have, then inside of this section I will do section dot inner html equals to a, just like this. And inside of this a I could do like this, href, this will mean the same, and www and anything www.google.com, go to Google. Now I know what's the problem. So what I'm going to do is, let's just check out this also. Does it work or not? So I think it's not working that way. So let's just Control X this one, put a template string, put it right there, and then just do this one thing. Now if I save, it will give me that thing, but now I have no section. So what's going on? So now the another thing, which is we need to append that one. So we need to append section. So now we want to append section into div el. So could we deal with that? See, very easily you could put div el dot append child, and then in append child you could put like section, because we create that element first. And so now I think all the things should be good. So let's just go into inspector and see what's going on. So inside of the section I had nothing seeing. So let's just see section document.create element section, and we add that element. So in section dot inner HTML, because we are talking only about inner HTML. Hello. So I'm getting hello. So there is some problem with that thing. So that's why the reason. And this is the reason you need to put all the thing you have very significantly. So now let's just put a hashtag for this time and write go Google. And if I save now, I will get the Google, which will go nothing nowhere. So this is the way. I think the link is not correct. I think that's so. www.google.com. Let's just save. Now it's coming. I think the link had some type of problem, I think, and that's the reason why it's happening. If I just now save, it will work like the same. Let's just change it to go to Google. Now it's good. So this is the way you could create a new element, append it to another element, and do all the thing you need to do. You could also add a class list. You could add a class. Let's just add a class section dot class. Let's use class name and add a link section. And if I save now, hopefully I will get a class of link section. Now it's good. So this is the one way of adding a text. Now the another way we have is, we could do something like, let me just comment out these all things. So this is the one way, inner HTML. Then the another way we have is inner text. So now inner text work like div el dot inner text. Inside of inner text, you could put, if you put h1 like this, and if you put like this, let's just put my name, and if I save, you will see that the HTML elements are not working. So this is the main reason why it's named inner text. You could only put inner text. Okay, so this is the another way of doing thing, but it generally prefer what way you choose. Okay, so I am going to activate this up, because in this particular thing it's the better way of doing all these things. Now, so this is the way of adding things and doing all that stuff we have. So now I wanted to do something which is good. So let's just comment out. So now I had comment out all the thing I had, and I blank HTML page. So now what I'm going to do is create a button with an ID of submit, and right click me. Now I save that thing. Now I go to my head and create a style tag. I'm going to internal HTML. I'm going to use internal HTML. In right here I will do something like, first of all, let's deal with the body. So body has to be a background color of I think this is good. So now display should be flex, align item should be center, justify content should be center, because I want all the things to be in center. Min height is equal to be 100 vh. Now if I save, hopefully the button should become at the center. Now let's deal with the button. So padding 0.4 m, 0.8 rem, border should be none. Now also I think border should be none, background should be something like this, and color should be white, and border radius, and I'm not styling it more, because if you want to style you could style. I just want to show you the main thing. And font size, let's just font size of it is 1.3 rem. So now if I save, now I had a button. Cursor pointer, let's just put, so we get a feeling of feeling. So now cursor pointer. Now I'm going to use a pseudo class which I use all the time in a button. If you watch my videos, so you know, which is active, and transform scale 1.09. Now if I go to above and add a transition to slow down the effect, 0.5 second is in out, which is the default I think. Now if I click, I got the effect of clicking. So now that's all for the body. Okay, and also I'm going to create a class of container, which is going to be position of absolute top, let's just use bottom 0 and right 0. Okay, and height equals to be 100 vh, and that's it for this time. Okay, and all these things. Now box, in my box, but I created another class for box, and in class of box I will do a padding of 0.4 rem, 0.8 rem, the same padding I have above. Then I will do another thing which is really important, which is the color should be white, the background should be steel blue I think, and border radius should be 10 pixel, margin should be auto from left and right, and from top I think 2 em should be great. Now let's just create a that box up so we could see what's going on with these all things. So div container, inside of this div container I have a div with a box. Let's just say you clicked. So now I will see that thing up just right there. Let's just give width of 50% or width of 40% I think. Let's just change this color into something. Let's just change the button, let's just give it a button colors, the same button color we have, 333. So now I have a color of 333 and it's cool. And now I think the width is not should be 40, it should be 30. Let's just save 20. Now 20 is good, I think now it's good. So okay. bottom 10 pixel, top. I need that one into bottom. Display of flex. Let's just do something which is flex direction column reverse. So this thing should be done. That thing. Oh yes, I got this thing. So sometimes you had to do something which you not think is good, but you had to do that thing. Now in div I will do something which is like p, and in that p I will do that this stuff. So now I had, let's just don't give it any element. We don't need to put an element. So now it's like this. Let's also add font size, font family to our body. So now we have these things. Okay, so what I'm going to do is cut this container from right here and go. And now in my mind I'm thinking whenever I click this button there should be a pop-up here for you clicked number of time I've clicked. So for that one thing, first of all I need to take the button, so I'm not going to put any comment and grab the button. So I will grab document.getElement by id, and the id should is submit, I think. Let's just once more check it out so that there is no problem. Okay, now button dot add event listener, click, then we will add an event listener. I'm going to use an arrow function, which I think in this particular time is really good. Now inside of this, first of all const div el. So let's just paste that up, and we need to uh, do all the thing just like this. So first of all we need to create a div. So const div el document, what I'm doing, document dot create element, and I'm going to create an element of div el dot class name, or class list is the class list because I really like that one thing. Class list container. Now after adding container, instead of this div el we have dot inner html. I will add these div. So now let's just, this is the all I think we need, but also we need to append this one. So appending to body, because most of the time we forgot to append it to the body, but we need to append that up. So document dot body dot append child, and we need to append the child of div el. So el, now it's good. So let's just save, and now whenever I click it give me it's giving me another container, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to create div el, or I'm going to append it ultimately. Okay, but what's going on now is we will create a div const box equals to document dot create element, and now in create element I will do div this time, and I will give box dot class list dot add, and in add I will add a class list of box. So now I will do box dot inner text, because I want to use inner text, so I'm using that you click, just like this. And now if I save, and then box dot append child, I will append it to div.el. So div.el, no, sorry, div.el should be right here and box should be right here, because box is not appending div.el, div.el is appending box. So now we are seeing, now we have the console, and whenever I click, it should be like this. Now it's coming up, coming. But one thing which is really bad, that it's not going, and one time it will fill up the page hole, and then whenever I click, nothing should be happen. So now what I need is, I need to delete these buttons after certain time interval. So I will do set time out, set timeout. So I will do something like box dot remove, like this, and then time of 3000 second. I think it's the thing we want to do. Let's just save that thing, and if I click, after 3 seconds it should be disappeared. Now you could see I'm clicking, and after 3 seconds they are disappearing. So this is the milliseconds. If I put 300 seconds, so if I click, so now this is the reason why it doesn't put 300 milliseconds. So let's just put 1 second. So now this function is really important if you want to delete something after some period of time. Okay, it takes an function. Right here I'm using, as you could see, arrow function, because my function is really small and I don't want to create another function for it. It will like a stupidity if I don't use this arrow function and if I use that thing. Okay, so whenever I click, it will appear and then disappear. So it's really cool. And now you are seeing that one thing, that let me just click right up here and let's just go to container, and now let's click up, it's adding. Now let's just not remove that things. So let I just click, then open it up. Now you will see that it's adding automatically. You all seen that? So this is the beauty of JavaScript. You could add dynamically. So firstly what I do, I I grab the button, then I created a div.el which had the class of container. Then I add an event listener that every time I click, you should create a box with a class of box. You should create a div with a class of box, and the inner text should be you clicked, and then append that to div.el, and then set timeout. After 1 second the box should be removed, and after all these things I append the child, append the div with a class of container to our body, and that's all we have now. So this is how you could grab up all these things, and it's all we need to study off with JavaScript. And if you want a different course for DOM manipulation and DOM, I will make that up for you. And there are many things which are not I cannot clear up in these, because I will, if I do, it will make up a very long video, so I'm not doing that thing up. And I think you learned something from this video, and it's kind of very long video in my channel, and I think I put very effort to make this video. So if you guys really think that I deserve something, so just please like and comment, and this helps me a lot. And that's it. I think it is very really good video for all of you, and it's really good for me. See you in the next video whenever I post up. And I think after this I will make some cool JavaScript projects, and also a crash course on JSON array methods and array, also in DOM manipulation, and I think object-oriented programming in JavaScript. All these things I will make another crash course where I only explain those things which are really really important, and you guys are really love with those. So we will deal with that also. And If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and share this video to all of your friends who need the full course of JavaScript. I tried to explain all the thing I really think, and hopefully you like this crash course. Okay, bye, see you in the next video. Another